Retiring early presents unique challenges as various sources of income traditionally accessible, like Social Security, aren't available immediately and may not be for a long period of time. To find out how you can use a phased income approach to ensure that you always have cash flowing in during retirement, even if you retire early, hit that subscribe button and join me today, right here in the Red Zone. To start out today, what do we mean by phases? Phases simply break a complex problem down into bite sized pieces that by themselves are much more manageable. Since what we are phasing here is income over time, we'll do that by turning income streams on or even off at various milestones. Ultimately, phasing helps us to retire early and bridge to income streams available later on. It can allow some future income streams to continue to grow as they don't have to be tapped immediately. It can also allow you to better control your taxes or avoid Medicare related IRMA cliffs. And finally, it can help reduce overall portfolio risk by forcing you to diversify your income streams. Now, for the remainder of this episode, I'm going to use my retirement plan as an example. I've broken down the phases of my retirement into phase one, which starts when I retire early and lasts until I can access all of my retirement accounts penalty free. I don't know the exact age I'll retire as it's conditions based, but it will end at 59 and a half years of age. Those conditions include primarily when my portfolio is generating income to cover both necessary and discretionary spending in both phase one and phase two, which I've forecasted to be just over a 10-year period based on progress to this point. Phase two is the next bridge that I need to build to get to both Medicare eligibility and when I plan to claim Social Security. Now, when to file for Social Security is influenced by multiple factors beyond break even points and is much too dense of a topic to just add to this video. But if you'd like my take and how I came to my own plan decision, leave a comment below and let me know. Phase three is the next bridge that will start with claiming Social Security and will end with the passing of my spouse or me. And guys, let's face it, statistically, we will pass on sooner. Phase four is the surviving spouse bridging to legacy goals. So, getting to phase one, here are the conditions of when this phase will actually start for me. First, I'll need 100% of my expenses met and projected to continue to be met until age 59 and a half. Second, I want my general portfolio allocation established in my red zone portfolio, part of which includes an initial cash reserve. Third, my oldest child needs to be undergraduate complete and started working, while I have all of the necessary funds set aside for my youngest. This is an early legacy goal for us in that our kids graduate college without any student loan debt. Next, I want to pay off my mortgage. It's more psychological here, but lowering my fixed expenses by getting rid of the mortgage will help me sleep better at night. Finally, I'm going to need to get some big purchases out of the way or have money set aside for these, as they will likely all crop up in phase one or early on in phase two, including cars and functional home items that are ending their life cycles, and even potentially weddings. So, how do I plan to source income in phase one? First, I have access to a pension, which nowadays is a unicorn for most people. However, you may have heard this before. There's no such thing as a free lunch, and the trade off here for me has been a much lower 401k balance than those colleagues of mine who are a decade or more younger. Next, the largest portion of my income will come from distributions paid from my portfolio's 40% allocation to income producing investments. And finally, I plan to work part time to really do two things for me. First, adjust all the new free time I'll have in retirement and kind of ease into the first few years rather than trying to make an abrupt transition. And second, provide income for discretionary spending and reduce the fears around that spending during the beginning of retirement. At age 59 and a half, I'll be on to phase two. The biggest changes in phase two are no one plans to be working anymore. And now that I can access retirement accounts, I'll be able to unlock some dividend payouts as well as start to sell down all of the assets in my 401k to deplete that account well prior to being forced to take RMDs, which will allow me some control over taxes. With respect to expected dividends in the purplish color on the chart, I'm expecting those to be able to be sourced from Roth accounts. Now, notice how both the pension and distributions from the income portfolio go down as a percentage of the overall income stream. And you'll see that trend continue in the follow on phases. This primarily happens due to inflation. And in these first few phases, I'm also still in the window of time where spending has not declined. This period is generally known as the go go years, when things like travel and hobbies can absorb as many dollars as you can throw at them, and you may still be healthy enough to actually enjoy it. This phase two chart is a little bit of a simplification, as I have an option to take a couple of alternative paths, such as depleting the 401k entirely first, or doing Roth conversions with the 401k. Moving to phase three, it begins when I claim Social Security, which at this point is planned for age 67, which happens to be my full retirement age. I'm expecting my 401k to be fully depleted at this point. Moving on to phase four, it begins when the household reduces in size by one. Notice how the pension is significantly cut as it is reduced to half of its value. Social Security is reduced by a third. And this is the phase where the selling of assets at a large scale begins. Although this could be a general time of slow go or no go years, pointing spending downward, it's also a time of potential larger healthcare costs, as well as the so called widow tax, where spending doesn't decline by 50% just because one of you isn't around anymore, but you face the single filer tax rates anyway. Here's my starting portfolio structure that is expected to deliver the income streams by phase. However, this in and of itself provides no real information as to when I am done accumulating and expect to be safe to go ahead and transition to the next period of life. So, to know when I'm done, found it helpful to look at the portfolio in terms of income it will provide instead. So, starting out with the income portion, and I'm going to include income from bonds and interest income from cash as well. It needs to pay out 50% or greater of my expected needs in phase one, which was early retirement until those retirement accounts become available. Now, I'm over halfway and I project to be somewhere between 32 to 34% of the way there by the end of 2026. I did build in a bond ladder to protect a little bit against dividend cuts in phase one, which I only have half of that ladder built out currently. In terms of income that I need from the dividend growth part of my portfolio, I'm getting closer to projections needed in phase two and phase three, with only a year or two, or maybe three remaining. It's really dependent upon the dividend CAGR going forward. For phase four, I don't project to be at that level until right before I need to turn on the full dividend income stream after I've been retired for likely over 15 years. I'm basically expecting to step between a quarter to a half percentage point every year to eventually reach that goal. Finally, for the assets I'm going to project to need to sell or decumulate, for my 401k, I'm almost there, and simply taking the employer match from this point forward should get me there. For growth assets that I'll need to sell, I still have a ways to go, but as you notice, I'm over halfway there and therefore can likely absorb a lost decade and still make it. I don't, however, feel like I need to wait until I reach a total asset pile number until I retire, as the phase one to phase three income stream is meant to put this part of the portfolio on autopilot and grow so that by the time I need it, it's there. Creating the right income streams at the right time requires a little bit of planning, but phasing those time periods out can help reduce some of the unknowns, help break down the problem into smaller pieces, and mitigate risks to your retirement income. If you're interested in other mitigation strategies, check out this video on protecting cash flow generation by using a bucket strategy. On your way out, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time right here in the red zone.